This is Hossegor, one of the most famous surf zones on the planet. The area is home to miles and miles and miles of golden sand, which, depending on how said sand moves, can produce anything from thick, slabby tubes to perfect A-frame sandbanks. So what's the place actually like? Hossegor can get good waves all year round, but sort of the golden time is September, October into November. This is when you get the best combination of swell. It's still pretty hot, you get a lot of offshores. The swells at the start of winter start to roll into the coast. There's probably few places better in the world you can be than Hossegor in September, October. Now heading into the depths of winter, Hossegor actually gets its best days during winter, but way less people go there at this time. It does get really cold, it does get stormy, sometimes for weeks on end, so it's more a case of just being there randomly or chasing a swell. But then between all those storms there'll be the occasional pumping day where it's freezing cold and all the locals are getting like sick ones. And then as you head into spring, the sort of cold winter temperatures lag on well into sort of March, April, but then it starts to get warmer, things start to calm down a little bit, and yeah, you get magic conditions again at that time of year. In summer, there are generally still plenty of waves to surf, but obviously it's the peak season, super busy with surf schools and beginners, and it's the tourist time of year, so it gets really hot. Conditions are still very surfable, at least they are compared to England. But yeah, generally a lot mushier, so if you're after like pumping tubes, it's probably not the best time to go, but you're still gonna get waves. So when you look at a map of Hossegor, you just see these long expanses of sand, and you kind of look at it and go, okay, well, the swell is going to be the same at all of these places. It all just faces west. But interestingly, it's not all created equally. And because of the outer bank found at Le Nord, waves can be drastically different in size and power just a few hundred meters away from each other. For example, you've got Le Nord here, which is sort of like an outer bank, and due to a deep underwater channel that runs from the Bay of Biscay towards the coast, it literally points directly into Hossegor. And you know, this bank at Le Nord sucks in all the swell. But then because of that bank just to the south of Le Nord, you've got La Soude, which because of the bank, the swell is sort of shadowed in that area. So when it's a lot bigger up here, it's a lot smaller at La Soude. When you look at Le Nord, that could be like double overhead, and then at La Soude could be like waist to shoulder high, just depending on the swell and the bank. So just to the north of Le Nord, you've got Le Gravier, which is the most famous wave in the area. It's where you see those super heavy, like throaty shore break tubes. And the wave quality and consistency really just depends on the sandbanks. You know, if there's no banks at Le Gravier, it's generally just like a shore break closeout. If there's good banks, it's a bit more makeable. Even still, even if it is a good bank, there's still plenty of closeouts, foam, backwash. So it's not always perfect, and because the tides change so drastically in Hossegor, it can generally be good for like an hour or two, and then it will just completely change and disappear. And then north of that, there's just like loads of open beach break, and that's all fairly similar sort of stuff. There can be good banks on the right days, it just depends. But then south of that, you can surf in between the groins, which again seems to be a bit more shadowed. Obviously when it is big, it condenses the crowd all into that sort of one zone, so it does get super busy and super hectic in there. But up and down the coast, it can be all sorts of different things going on. It's one of them where you just got to drive around and check the banks, and you're surfing different places under different conditions. It's not just like one sick peak that's sitting there all the time. One bank will be really good on one day where it's really small, really groomed. Next day you've got to surf between the groins because it's massive. Then there's like a good bank at Le Gravier that's formed as a result of the big swell. So like you're always just changing what you surf, and then you know, you rock up and it's really good, you get in, and then suddenly it changes to something else, and yeah, it's just never really like just sitting there all day unless you're like really in the know. So this video is brought to you by True Traveller. Now, no matter where you're going, insurance that covers you for surfing is essential for any surf trip, and True Traveller covers surfing as standard within their policies. I've used them now for trips all over the world, and they've quickly become my go-to. So one of the best aspects for me is that they allow you to extend your policy whilst you're already away. As for me, I often don't know how long I'm going to be traveling for, while many insurers don't even allow this. So if you're looking for solid travel insurance for your next trip, check out True Traveller. I'll leave the link down in the description where you can check it out. For now, let's get back to the video. So the best way to get around Hossegor is by car, obviously. So just having a vehicle is going to give you the maximum flexibility in getting around. You know, you'll be able to go into town, go down to Cap Breton, shoot up the coast to go to different banks and try and find some less crowded banks. So if you can't drive, I'd recommend staying in Hossegor. If you stay around sort of the La Centrale zone, you'll be able to walk to La Sud, La Nord, La Gravière. So yeah, you do have options. Otherwise, you can stay in Cap Breton and you could walk to Santosha and the Groins if it's big, and then go down to VVF if it's a bit smaller. So you definitely can do it if you have to, you know, if you can't drive or you're saving money or whatever. It can be done, but ideally you want a car so then you can drive between campsites, your accommodation, the best bakeries, the best banks, the best tides, and you'll just really get the most out of your time in Hossegor. So in and around Hossegor, you've kind of got two main options regarding camping. You can free camp, or you can go to actual campsites. So all over Hossegor, you've basically got these free camping zones that are essentially just car parks. Some of them have toilets, some of them don't. Some of them actually have electricity that you can pay for per night. I think it's like 10 to 15 euros. But a lot of them are free, they're not glamorous. You'll see these big motorhomes camping there with their electricity hookups. So if you're trying to save money, there's a few of these different free camping spots. On the map, they're all called like camping du cars. And yeah, you can just park up there and yeah, sleep in the van or sleep in your car. So while you can sleep for free if you have to, you know, these car parks, it's not that nice, you know, there's lots of people coming and going at different times of day. So in the morning, you'll have people rocking up for the surf. Late at night, there's people making noise. The toilets aren't that nice. But if you find a quiet one where you're allowed to camp, it's definitely doable. You can't really just camp anywhere in Hossegor. There are sort of designated camping car zones, and the police do come around and check. So you've got to make sure you're in the right zone. I mean, I'm sure if you're discreet about it, you can get away with sort of parking anywhere, but if it says no overnight parking and you park there, like, you're definitely going to get moved on, especially in summer or in autumn. Your second option is actual campsites. Now, during our time in Hossegor, we mostly camped at proper campsites just because the way our van was set up, it wasn't really made for free camping. We had like a tent awning, so with that, it was just a lot easier to go to a campsite and have that set up properly, so we're a bit more organized. Also, we found some really good campsites around the sort of 20 to 25 euro mark that got us a decent pitch, toilets, hot water showers, a pool, and even Wi-Fi in some cases. Our favorite place we camped was Camping La Saville, which was just outside of Cap Breton. This isn't an ad, by the way, they didn't pay me to say this. It just genuinely is a really good spot to stay. The only downside was that you needed to drive to the beaches, but other than that, it was a really sick place to stay. Decent Wi-Fi, pool, hot water, showers. There's actually a restaurant there as well that we didn't really use. It's kind of in the pine forest. It's just a really nice place to stay. So obviously Hossegor is super crowded. It's one of the most famous surf zones in the world. You know, through the summer into September, October, and even into November, there are a lot of people riding waves in this zone. You know, there's lots of locals who live there and surf. There's lots of people traveling to get waves there. So a lot of the time you rock up at a certain bank or a certain little zone, you look at the waves and just go, wow, that's ridiculous. And you sort of wonder like, oh, I don't even want to go in because it's so crowded. But you know, there'll be 30 people on one bank, 40 on another. There's like 50 people down the beach at another bank. That said, there are like a lot of waves, especially when the swell's sort of in that like head high to head and a half zone, because when it's a bit smaller, it opens up the whole coast. So then you've got miles and miles of surfable coastline with like so many different banks and setups. So if you're a beginner, you can still surf down by the Groins and at La Sud. If you're a more advanced surfer, you can go and find some of the other banks like at La Gravière or further north, further south. There's such a high volume of waves as well. It's almost one of those places where the crowds don't matter just because there's so many waves. You know, obviously I don't love crowds, no one does, but I still absolutely love going to Hossegor, so that just kind of shows, you know, this is still so surfable. And to be honest, I feel like the vibe is a little bit better in Hossegor. Like, I feel like the locals there are all like really good surfers, and you know, there'll be like a sick pack of locals on that bank and they'll all be getting the best waves, which is obviously how it should be. But then generally speaking, like I feel like the locals there are good enough to kind of just get waves no matter how crowded it is. They don't necessarily have to be super aggressive and like in other places. I don't know if that's true or not, it's just something I've observed. It just seems to be a bit of more of a friendlier environment in France compared to Spain and Portugal. So, as I said, the sand movement kind of dictates what kind of waves you're riding in Hossegor. Although there's so much surfable coast, it's not all like surfable, you know. There'll be like a patch of sand, a deep channel, patch of sand, deep channel, and it's kind of like that the whole way. It's not just like random peaks everywhere all the time. It can be like that, but generally speaking, you have a shallow patch of sand with like a left, right, or an A-frame breaking off it, and a deep channel either side of it. So you've kind of got to learn how to work these kind of lineups because it behaves a bit more like a point break. You know, you've got a rip running either side of it. Sometimes you get these like crazy rip bowl banks where this rip's just churning through the waves, and it's really easy to get sucked out and be too far out, not catch waves, get swept around to the other side of the bank. Kind of got to learn how to surf those sort of rip bowl banks. It's a bit of a different thing to like your average beach break. And when it's a bit bigger, those rips are just churning out to sea. The waves are really powerful, so it's a bit more complicated. When it's smaller, yeah, it is more just like an A-frame peak and it behaves like a point break. And then obviously you've got like the etiquette side of things to contend with there as well. So because of the sand movement, you spend a lot of time driving in Hossegor. I always find as well that even if I found like a good bank and there's loads of people on it and I'm like, right, this is the place to be surfing, I often go out and I'll be having like a really fun surf, but in the back of my head I'm like, oh, is there like somewhere down the beach that is even better, or is there a bank that I don't know about that other people are getting tubed on or something like that? It's kind of hard. You always feel like you're missing out on something, especially because each bank is usually only good for like a couple of hours or so. So sometimes it's just good just to pick somewhere, stick with it, surf it, and then, you know, do that rather than like constantly chasing your tail around Hossegor. You end up spending more time driving around than actually surfing. So Hossegor is a really nice area, so if you're traveling with a non-surfing partner or if you've got the family with you, it's a really nice place to hang out. The beaches are all really nice and clean, golden sand, nice clean clear water. All the roads, everything like is well manicured and well looked after. It seems like Hossegor's had a lot of money like pumped into it in the last few years. It's a lot nicer even than when I first went, like probably 10 years ago. And like all around it you've got lakes and pine forests, and it's just a really nice environment to hang out in. I'd recommend taking like your performance shortboard, a step up if you've got one, just for those bigger days, like a groveler for when it gets small. And then if you're in summer, you can get away with a few surfs in boardies. Even into September, people were surfing in boardies. I feel the cold a bit, so I like to wear a short arm, 3-2, and then a 4-3 as you're moving into sort of November, December sort of time. So this is a bit of a cost breakdown. This is obviously including your camping, a tank of fuel, your food. Obviously you can spend way more, you can spend a lot less if you free camp, but I think that's generally a good guide to sort of go off, and that can afford you the same sort of lifestyle as what we had when we were there. So yeah, they're sort of the main things that you need to know with a trip to Hossegor. Just if you're going in the right season, you're almost guaranteed to get waves. You've got to chase around a bit and find the right banks and under the right conditions. Just expect it to be really crowded, but it's just one of those places you've got to get stuck in. It won't pump the entire time, but there'll always be an option to surf almost no matter what the conditions. I think it's a really wicked place to go to, so if you've got any more questions about it, please let me know in the comments. I absolutely love it there. I think I've been 5 or 6 times now and will definitely be back. So hope you found this video helpful. For now, it's goodbye from me, and I'll see you in the next episode.